like I'm a huge slasher fan as well. So when I read it, I was like, oh, this is a very fresh take on the slasher genre. And that's what I got from it. And I was immediately interested by this story.
Pinky.
Hello again, guys. Thank you again for having me. I love the movie. I watched it yesterday, and I was extremely mad at the end because I thought that someone would survive.
Nope.
And I was like, no, why? Why? I was gonna say that the scene where the last girl that's alive is pierced through her stomach. I was like, why? No, why? But I love the movie, and I'm a big fan of yours because I love Summer of '84 as well. And congratulations. I thought it was a very original and thrilling movie, and I love horror movies, especially serial killer and slasher movies. So I was in for a ride, and that was exactly what I got. And my first question is a basic question that I do for everyone that I interview is what can the audiences expect from the movie?
Thrill, fun, excitement after they watch the movie. Afterwards, they'll maybe think about a future and where we're going as a species and how we need to take care of each other. Hopefully, people will get out of it.
I hope people will feel the same way than when I read the script. I'm a huge slasher fan as well. So when I read it, I was like, oh, this is a very fresh take on the slasher genre. And that's what I got from it. And I was immediately interested by this story. Props to Alberto, who wrote the script. And yeah, it plays with the code, and the killer that wears mask, it's actually the victims, which is very cool. The jock is rather alcoholic and a coward. The blonde girl is not the final girl. Actually, she died at the very beginning.
She's the first one.
yeah. And stuff like that. Usually, like in slasher, you have those kids that just want to party and they don't really have a goal, but those kids are on a mission and are very active. So that's what I liked about
they have desires there. They're exactly what, like Francois says, it's like I love Friday the 13th, but all the teenagers are just there to drink and
get laid
and get laid. But these kids have hope.
They have a purpose.
Yeah, they have a purpose.
They still have different reason why they're there. Some is for the mission, some is for the clicks, some is for the fame, some is for a girl, some is just there to have fun and don't really care about the mission, unquote. So yeah.
Anouk, if you want to add something to the first question, or I can just...
I think they went very in depth. Yeah, they went in depth already. Just to expect the unexpected.
That was exactly what I got, because when I first watched the movie, I thought the mask reminded me of Your Next. I got the vibes from a lot of recent slasher movies where the killer, we know who the killer is. It's not like the Scream franchise, for example, which we just find out who the killer is at the end of the movie. So I thought it was very original. I liked, as you said, that the group of teenagers have an agenda, they have a purpose, which is very hard to see in movies like that, like you said. So I thought it was simply amazing. It was one of the best slasher movies that I saw recently. And you said that it had a fresh take on it, and I got everything that you just said. And you said about Alberto Marini, who wrote the screenplay. And I wanted to know, in the first versions of the screen, I don't know if you had first versions of the screenplay, did anyone survive for like maybe a sequel, maybe something like that, or no, everybody just died?
No, nobody survived, because if we continue on the path we are, none of us will survive.
Yeah.
If we don't change our ways, this is what's going to happen to all of us. And like that you are from one side or the other, we're all on the same boat and we're all going toward doom. So unless we start talking to each other and stop, like none of us will survive. And that's a little bit one of the things of one of the things we wanted to express through the movie. So nobody could survive. The only thing that survives is the company. It's like
Yeah.
they will go on. They will left us behind. We'll all be dead, but the companies will continue. Like it's scary. It's
Yeah.
very scary.
Yeah, and I actually like the fact that we don't take sides. We don't get we don't get too political, and it actually, like Yoann said, it's a if we actually take the time to sit down and talk to each other, we wouldn't go through a night of tragedy, bad luck, and bad decision. So that's how I see why there's no survivors.
It's a cruel world for sure.
Yeah. There's a line on the movie, I think it's in the beginning, one of the kids say, maybe we're the last ones. We're the last ones to do that. I thought it was a very clever metaphor for like we're the last ones because if we, as you said, if we continue that way, we're gonna be the last ones. There won't be any future. So I thought it was a very clever metaphor. And I got a lot of when the killer says, we're all animals and you're in my hunting area, something like that.
Hunting ground.
I got a lot of vibes from a Lord of the Flies.
Thank you. That's I praise. That's I praise.
Because it's barbaric, but it's an understandable barbaric scenario, and I thought it was very intelligent. And I love when directors, filmmakers, and screenwriters do that because it tells the horror as a form of art, not just like we're gonna kill people and that's all you're gonna get.
Thank you. That means a lot. Like a lot. Like it really means a lot. I think all good horror is a study of the of humans, of us.
I agree.
It's the dark side that hides in all of us. It's the thing that scares me the most. It's other humans.
Yeah.
And thank you. That it means a lot when that message comes true. It feels good to hear. It was really important for us, for Kevin, the killer, that humanize him. Like he's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a total monster, but he's definitely disturbed. And as a society, we decided, and that's all around the world, that we're not going to help. He should be helped. And also he's also afraid because at the beginning he's being told that he's going to lose his job. And clearly for somebody like him, it's really hard to get a job. So, like the process is probably like his brother comes in, works for a while, eventually says, well, I have another brother that can come in and work as well. But eventually Kevin does something, they lose their job, they have to start over. He is afraid to lose his job, so he goes way beyond. Like he's still a monster. I'm not saying he's not a monster. You don't kill people, right?
And like we're saying, when it's a series of bad decisions, you have a moment where, you know, Kevin almost does the right thing by calling the superior so that they're aware of it and take care of it. But at that moment, his brother, who kind of we envision that is always like the straight guy who handles him and handles everything, he's on a bad curve. He started drinking, and it's just like he's the one who actually pushes him to go overboard and not do the right thing for once. And
he's already at a breaking point, and it's like that predatory and predatory capitalist mentality that we can't lose our jobs because we're not going to survive, and it's an eternal circle of breaking points, and he crosses it And we kind of get it. I mean, don't kill people for the love of God. But
Yes,
we kind
don't.
of get it. We kind of get it because, as you said, he's humanized, and I particularly, I am very fond of characters that are humanized because we can get the whole story, not just a little bit of the story. And one of the scenes that I like the most is when the group of teenagers are soaked in neon painting and the lights come off. I thought it was a very smart and very well constructed scene. And I wanted to know, how did you guys get to do that scene? Did you the actors knew that what was going to happen? Because I thought the emotions were very, very real and very fluid.
This piece was written in by Alberto, and when we read it, it's the set piece. This is the major set piece moment of the film. So we had to do a lot of experiment with the paint so that we got, because we didn't want to go with black light paint, so that we wanted to be in complete darkness. I wanted it to be like the paint that glows and not just the black light that makes it glow. So so we actually shot it in complete darkness. Once the light shuts, that's what we saw like on set. We had two cameras as well. It was a very specific ballet or dance between the two cameras going around and everything. And we feel like it really brings more, because you don't have like the reflection of the teeth or the eyes of the actors. It's just like it's really oxygen, I don't know, like anxiety. And for the moment that actually like the paint falls on the actors, it's you could say like they were expecting, they were expecting that paint was gonna fall on them, but we did not test it before. It's like what you see is what happened the first shot. So there was a lot of realness. That's why there was a lot of realness about it. We wanted a lot of paint, and I think everybody was surprised actually by the amount of liquid that fell on the actors, and it was amazing. That moment was crazy. Like you could feel inside them as well when they have to start running right afterwards and just like move out of the freezer. And I'm sure their hearts were pounding. And it was like very.
It was crazy because we had one shot to do it, not the whole scene with the black light, but the actual paint that comes down. We had one shot, and it falls on them. We put camera everywhere. We even use for one of the angle an iPhone. We wanted to cover, like, to be sure to cover everything. And then flash, they start running. But we go to the other set. We run. We kept the same energy, and we shot them walking around to go into the darkness in almost the same sequence. So we made everybody run. So the art were racing already. They were already pumped. And then when they got into the other set and run, and then pitch black, darkness, the genuine scream they make, it's so real because we kept that energy. And I think it felt very real. It was a complicated thing to. It was a complicated thing to shoot, but it was the best way to do it. Also, because we didn't use blacklight, because like Anouk said, we really didn't want the flashy teeth and eyes that blacklight makes. We wanted to really have the pitch black, the darkness. So the actor had to run outside under the sun, charge the light, and then go back. And then we put them back in total darkness where nobody would see anything. I mean, like, it was so jarring for the actor that it was easy for them to get in the moment, because it was intense. That moment was really intense to shoot. It was so much fun.
I kind of knew this scene was going to be special, because I don't remember seeing that kind of scene before. If we would do our job right, we knew that this is going to be the scene that people will remember leaving the theater. So I'm glad that that's the one you talk about.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene. I could feel the tension, and I thought it was a very dark and twisted choreograph. And my mom is a dancer and my father is a dancer and I'm a dancer. So I could like create a choreograph with the cameras as you moved around, and it was so beautifully done. That's the reason that the
Thank you.
scene was stuck in my head. And I think I have time for one more question. I have 2 more minutes. I wanted to know from you, what are your favorite slasher movies?
Oh, I mean, it's really hard to answer because we love all of them. I think we grew up personally. I grew up on Friday the 13th. Like they
Yeah.
were my favorite when growing up. I think Halloween is probably the first one. John Carpenter Halloween. I think it's my favorite one because it kind of launched the genre, and
Yeah.
that makes it so special. But I think the one entertainment style, weirdly, getting older, I think Friday the 13th Part 2 is now my favorite. Like I used to be, the fourth one is the best. Nobody can beat Friday the 13th Part 4. But older now, recently, I re-binge watch them. Like I do it like every 3 years. And I re-binge watch them, and like the second one is really the best one. There's so many great scenes in that. Like when she founds the cabin of Jason and she's panicking, and there's a window behind him, and you just see him pass. Like it's so well done.
Yeah,
It's so perfect. That
I
that that
agree.
that shot. That I think Part 2 is my favorite one now.
Yeah. For me, I think it's a mix of all the Jason Voorhees. That was my introduction to slashers, and I was like probably way too young when I watched them because Jan is my older brother, so I think that's why it was my first introduction, and that it happened
Oh,
too early.
I made her watch way too young.
I blame him for not being scared in horror movies anymore because I think it was like it happened when I was a kid, so now it's and for a more modern one would be Your Next, which you mentioned before, and I think it's one of my favorite modern one. Yeah.
I was also on Team Friday the 13th growing up, and I think that's why we did a movie when we were very young, like 20 years ago, a slasher called Bagman, and it's like Jason but with a paper bag on his head.
Shopping
Grocery
bag,
bag.
Super
Yeah.
DIY.
Yeah.
But that's how we began our journey, if you want to. But would Hot Fuzz consider a bit like a slasher?
Oh,
I think so.
There's
I think it is. I think
There's
it
some-
I
works.
think so.
I would
Bold
choose
choice.
I love it.
Bold
Okay, so we
choice.
have
Yes, bold choice.
bold choice. We have 4 Friday the 13th stands here, so I love the answer. So I want to thank you for having me again. It was an honor. Again, congratulations. Très bien. I thought it was amazing.
Thank you.
And merci beaucoup.
Obrigado.
Oh, thank you so much.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.